Every fourth Russian got into conflict situations with the law enforcement officers. Every 10th faced torture from their side. These are data from a survey by the Russian research organization Levada Center conducted back in 2019. Sociologists are sure that after the start of a full-scale war of Russia against Ukraine and the tightening of political repression by the Kremlin regime, the situation is not improving, and the Russians still do not want to change anything.
Russia is a totalitarian country. It is a country with political terror. It is a country of intimidated people, intimidated and manipulated by propaganda. At one time, there was one of the founders of Soviet and then Russian sociology, Professor Shwapentokh. I read one of his works. He described how they tried to study public opinion in the Soviet Union. They tried to study it, and then they realized there is nothing to study, because there is no public opinion, and people simply tell them the answers they heard in the Vremya program.
Rudeness, cruelty, alcoholism, criticism of victims of violence, condemnation of weakness, complete obedience to people endowed with strength. All these pathologies of society in Russia are called traditional values and elevated to a cult. The leadership of the aggressor country is fed in every possible way by the mass fear of the authorities and admiration for the so-called strong hand, both to strengthen the image of an external enemy and to control the population more tightly.
As soon as some kind of a hero from the point of view of the Russian people dies, an icon is immediately made for him. Just imagine, there are already icons of Prigozhin. There was an icon of Stremousov. Naturally, Tsar Nicholas II was immediately elevated to the rank of saints. That is, it turns out that those who rule, the Russians, are God's appointment ones. And naturally, they know better. They are wiser, they are stronger. That is, people just need to obey them. The fact is that this is not fear, this is just slavish obedience.
From Ivan the Terrible to Stalin, the slavish thinking of modern Russians is due to many historical prerequisites. Therefore, Putin's desire to be like Stalin is an attempt to satisfy the demand of Russian society, sociologists say.
As for the prospects, I'm quite pessimistic about this, and again I inclined to draw historical analogies. The denazification of Germany became possible only after the defeat and control over Germany by the victorious allies. So, in the Russian Federation, I see no prospects for this movement from below. Regime changes are needed. Many of my fellow social scientists assume that the trigger for regime change will be a Ukrainian military victory on the battlefield.
Human rights defenders, activists and people capable of rising up are rare in Russia. The state outlaws their very activities. The security forces are persecuting them, forcing them to leave the country, prosecuting them on trumped-up cases and liquidating entire organizations. Therefore, only the decolonization of the aggressor country can radically change the situation. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Valeria Nekipelova, UATV News.